know how I'm on the edge of my seat. We all know we're on the edge of our seat. Every single witness that testifies that they're going to say something that violates an order or something. I don't think the folks out there know how it's very tense because for that reason. So I'll give you a second to go out and just make sure that he's on the same page and to listen to your questions. That's how we avoid trouble, is if witnesses listen to the attorney's questions and just try to answer that question. But that's my ruling. I agree with the state. Now, can I get you to pause before you go out? So I want to say something to everybody in the courtroom and a couple of things that, so I can only control what happens in here, in the building, and somewhat as to the premises of the courthouse. What happens out on the street, I can't control it. I only have so much control. So I want to go back to something and just implore everybody in the courtroom and also explain to everybody, because I think that part of my role as the judge is to tell people what I do, but also why do I do it. So I'm going to go backwards and just tell everybody something. So about 6 weeks ago, I guess, during the trial, during the hearings, I mentioned to both sides, to the defense, please don't bring a bunch of law enforcement officers here in uniform. And then I turned over to the state side and said, please don't have people come with shirts on and things of that. As time went on, nobody's violated that order. I then entered an order, though, that reflected that, because I was just nervous. So but I want to tell folks, where is that coming from and why? So I think many, many, many moons ago, that really wasn't really hashed out in the law. I know when I prosecuted, I've got 2 of the longest sentences on police officers in Palm Beach County history. But as I sat at that table, the prosecutor's table, very often we'd have a whole room full of police officers in uniform. Why would somebody do that? 2 reasons, in my opinion. 1, to show support for their colleague, and number 2, and the law came to support it, to intimidate the jury. The flip side is, I had many cases that I prosecuted, murder cases, that the victim's family would come with shirts, buttons, justice, things like that. Photographs. We'd have framed pictures in court. I had a victim who would bring her son's ashes to court. And as much as you say, you can't, please don't do that, the law has finally kind of clarified these things and said, why would the victim's family do that? 2 reasons: to show support for the deceased, and other members to show support for their family. But there's a second reason: to elicit sympathy from the jury. So neither one of these things are a good thing, and that's why I issued an order. I'm very respectful. I don't know who knows what about me, and it doesn't matter. I'm here to follow the law. Where am I going with this? So potentially, the law enforcement's received some information that perhaps there's a demonstration going to occur today outside the courthouse. I cannot stop that. I cannot stop it. And I don't know if anybody in the courtroom is part of it or not part of it. I cannot issue an order, and I will not issue an order. But I know that both sides want closure. I know young Mr. Jones's brother who testified. I tell everybody, when he said he played in the NFL, the line is you'd want to leave everything out on the field, right? Well, as a judge, I'm leaving everything right here in this courtroom. I've had countless meetings. I've tried my best to create an atmosphere of respect, diligence, calmness, because I want the jurors to be totally focused. So all I can say is I can't stop anything that happens outside the courthouse, but I will tell everybody, if these jurors observe anything like that, I'm going to have to bring the jurors in. I'm going to have to talk to them. I'm going to have to ask them their feelings. And depending on what their answers are, I could be forced to grant a mistrial in this case. The last thing I want to do, but I will follow the law no matter how much it hurts my heart, because I've invested so much, all the lawyers, all the people that have been here from the start. There have been people have not missed 1 minute of this trial. Besides the staff people, we have to be here. So if that happens, I will follow the law. As of Monday, I have 610 cases. I have many, many first-degree murder cases, many, 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 many more second-degree cases, many, many, many more older than this case. So I just tell everybody, whatever behavior is going to happen is going to happen. If anybody has any control over it, share my thoughts. I'm respectful of everybody's right to do what they need to do, but they need to know that I have to follow the law, and that's what I'm going to do. So that takes care of that. Mr. Fernandez, I'm going to give you a moment to go talk to your witness. And other than that, are we ready to call our first witness?
Yes, sir.
So take a minute, tee him up at the door, so walk him with you so we're ready to say, call your first witness. I do, and I will. I do it. I'll ask her right now. She's right here. Did you get what you asked for? Uh-oh. He's going to call down, and if I go like this, it means they're waiting for you. If I go like this, there's a problem, and we'll talk on the break. All right, everybody have a seat. Jurors, how you doing? Everybody's all right? Okay. Hopefully you had a good night's rest. Nobody read anything, saw anything, nobody's contacted you, no issues. If you do, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands. Everybody's got their pad. Great. How's the coffee, all right? And we ordered lunch already? We'll make sure it's here on time this time. Dunk. Where'd you get it from today? Where'd you order from? All right, you getting a little pizza today? All right, that's good. Hopefully everybody eats pizza. Just keep me abreast of any issues with that. I'm trying my best to keep you guys as happy as I possibly can under the circumstances. You guys are ready to get to work? Let's do it. State, call your first witness.
State call Sgt Garcia, Your Honor.
Sergeant Garcia, please. Sergeant Garcia, good morning. Thanks for your patience. Come on out to the middle. Once you get to the middle, raise your right hand, face Mr. Clerk for me.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
And you're going to have a seat right up here. Watch your step. The chair rolls and it swivels. The most important thing for me is you get the microphone close to your mouth. The whole base, yeah, you got it. And then once you're comfortable, if you tell us your full name and slowly spell your last name for us.
Javier Garcia, Garcia.
State, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
You would please explain to the jury how you're employed?
With the City of Palm Beach Gardens.
And if you'll just go through your law enforcement career, please.
Received my bachelor's degree at Florida State University, criminology and psychology. Completed the Basic Law Enforcement Academy, Palm Beach State College, and then got employed. Been with the City of Palm Beach Gardens for almost 11 years. Field training officer, DEA task force, and now a road patrol sergeant.
And as a sergeant with the Palm Beach Gardens Police Department, what are your duties, sir?
Supervise my officers on the road.
And back in 2015 in October, were you also a sergeant supervising officers on the road?
I was.
And was one of those officers at the time that you supervised a Nouman Raja?
Yes, sir.
Do you see him in court today, sir?
I do.
If you would, please describe something that he is wearing.
Light blue shirt.
Ask the record to reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Nouman Raja, Your Honor.
Noted.
And was he one of the officers that you supervised at that time in 2015, sir?
Yes, sir.
And during October of 2015, were you running or part of running a plainclothes detail directed at car burglaries.
Yes, sir.
If you would, please explain what a plainclothes detail is.
Plain clothes, just you would blend in as a citizen of the community, but you're also a police officer at the time, working as a police officer.
And how does that differ from an undercover operation, sir?
Undercover, you don't want anybody to know that you're a police officer.
And so, let's say, for example, buying narcotics, you would want to operate as an undercover officer and make sure that the person you're buying narcotics from has no idea that you're a law enforcement officer,
Yes, sir.
as opposed with a plainclothes operation is one of the overriding points to be identifiable as an officer.
Just rephrase.
How does that differ from a plainclothes operation, sir?
Plain clothes, like I said, just blending in, and if you do need to identify yourself, you would have to.
Is it important to be able to identify yourself as a law enforcement officer for a plainclothes operation or detail?
At times, depending on the situation, yes.
And this burglary detail in October of 2015, that was a plainclothes one, sir?
Yes, sir.
And how is this detail supposed to operate?
The officer assigned, Officer Raj at the time, would set up decoy cars in several communities, and then he would take out a white unmarked van or another unmarked vehicle at the time, and patrol different communities to observe any kind of suspicious people or suspicious vehicles in our local residences.
And if suspicious vehicles or individuals were identified, what would the individual in the plainclothes detail do?
To basically watch and then call in a marked unit
And what is the purpose of calling in a marked unit, sir?
to either conduct a traffic stop or identify the suspicious people.
And you mentioned one vehicle that you potentially would use as a white undercover van, is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
And this is going to be 54 Composite C. Do you recognize that van, sir?
I do.
And is that the same van that you're talking about that would be utilized in this plainclothes burglary detail in October of 2015?
Yes, sir.
And looking at this white van, is it intentionally not have any insignia whatsoever of being a law enforcement vehicle?
If you could just rephrase that, I'm sorry.
Does it have any indication whatsoever it's a law enforcement vehicle?
No, sir.
Is that intentional?
To be honest with you, I don't know anything about the fleet, so I couldn't really answer that, how intentional that was.
Is it necessary not to be identifiable as a law enforcement vehicle in order to accomplish the goals of this plainclothes detail?
Yes,
So there's no police lights on it?
correct.
No big badge that says Palm Beach Gardens Police Department?
Correct.
No antenna sticking out in multiple places on it?
Correct.
And did the defendant take part specifically in this detail?
Yes,
Was he taking part in this detail in the evening hours of October 17th and morning hours of October 18th of 2015?
yes,
Was he using this same van that has zero markings of a law enforcement vehicle?
I believe so. I was not working that night, but yes.
And did you instruct him as far as what he was supposed to do as part of this detail?
Yes,
Did you instruct him as to whether or not he was supposed to wear plain clothes?
yes,
And what did you tell him?
yes,
Did you tell him that he was supposed to wear a tactical vest?
yes,
And the tactical vest that you're talking about, is this one that has police badge on it?
yes,
Does it have the words police on it?
yes,
Does it make a person clearly identifiable as a law enforcement officer?
yes,
And you instructed Officer Raja specifically to wear this vest during this detail?
yes,
Did you instruct him to have his service weapon on him, sir?
yes,
Did you instruct him to have his police radio on him during this detail?
yes. His equipment readily available.
In fact, did the defendant make any remarks specifically as it related to his radio?
Just in reference to a radio holder that he had.
What did he say?
That's all. He mentioned that he has a radio holder for his vest.
And was that, when he mentioned it, did that mean that it would be easier for him to keep his radio on him?
Yes,
And just like you had mentioned before, as part of the detail, was he also instructed that if he was to engage anybody, that he was supposed to make sure that he was either clearly identifiable or call in marked units?
Yes, or identify himself, yes.
And you personally had this discussion with the defendant?
Yes,
Did he acknowledge to you that he understood everything you said?
yes.
I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, any cross-examination? Take your time.
Good morning, sir.
So this was a plainclothes detail, right?
Yes,
And the idea was, with a plainclothes detail, that you wanted to fool people into thinking that people weren't police around, and then maybe catch them when they committed an auto burglary, right?
correct.
And there was a serious problem with auto burglaries going on in Palm Beach Gardens.
That's correct.
And so you set up a unmarked van, because obviously nobody would know, looking at that van, that it was a police vehicle, right?
Yes, sir.
And you had some other cars that were likewise unmarked, but you don't know what they all were, but they were unmarked, right?
Yes, sir.
And the idea was that you'd fool people. You'd lull them into committing a burglary, and then once the burglary was underway, the officer could call in marked units or whatever and make an arrest, right?
Yes,
Okay. Because if they knew, if the people knew that it was a police officer that was committing that was patrolling the area, they wouldn't do it, right?
correct.
It's just like a drug deal. Like, if they know they're selling to an undercover agent, they're not going to sell the drugs, right?
Correct.
Okay, so the whole idea was tricking people, right?
Yes,
And I think what you said was, if they were going to confront people, if they were going to confront someone who was committing a burglary, the idea would be then to get your vest on and to go over and confront them so they'd know you were a police officer, right?
yes,
Okay. But they're not driving around with big white letters on them that marked police. They're only doing that if they're going to confront somebody, right?
yes,
Okay. And the paraphernalia that goes along with it, the police radio on the shoulder, the gun, the vest that says in big giant white letters, police, that was to be kept with them in case they needed to confront a suspect, right?
right.
So the idea was not to wear it unless they needed to.
Accurate.
And you actually had experience in that kind of stuff. I mean, you were with the DEA task force, so you know about undercover work, right?
Somewhat, yes.
Yeah. And you know that it's a valid form of police work. Undercover work is important to do, right?
Right.
And you had a rash of burglaries.
Yes, sir.
It was a big problem.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, there are times when a situation changes suddenly, right?
Yes, sir.
You'd acknowledge that there are times where you have to just do something fast. If you have to confront somebody, you have to confront somebody, right?
I agree.
And you instructed, as part of your field training officer, that if a suspect is out of his car, you need to get out of your car.
Absolutely.
That's called okay. Your indulgence.
Sure.
Your indulgence. All right, so just let me cover another area. Officer safety is paramount, right?
Agreed.
You don't want to do anything to jeopardize officer safety.
I agree.
Okay. And wanting to see a suspect's hands who's fidgety or whatever is very important.
Yes.
Now, that vest weighs 26.1 pounds, doesn't it?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I just couldn't hear that.
Just speak up a little bit.
That vest weighs 26 pounds, doesn't
Objection,
it?
Your Honor, it's outside the knowledge of the witness.
I don't know. Do you know how much it weighs?
It could be between 20 and 30. I don't know how much.
So your answer is between 20 and 30?
Yeah.
Next question.
It goes over your head, correct? Tactical vest goes over your head, and it requires Velcro to put it on.
Yes, sir.
And there's a moment when you are putting it on over your head where you're blinded, right?
Yes, sir.
And if you can't see, it's dangerous, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any redirect?
Approach, please, Judge.
Of course.
Defense attorney asked you if it was paramount to the safety of an officer to potentially get out of his vehicle, correct?
Just rephrase that. I'm sorry.
Defense attorney asked you if it was paramount to the safety of the officer at times to get out of his vehicle if he's approached by a dangerous situation.
Absolutely.
Is it also paramount to the safety of an officer to approach a vehicle as if you're conducting a traffic stop?
It can be, yes.
Is it paramount to the safety of an officer to actually get behind a vehicle when conducting a traffic stop for the safety of the officer?
It can be, yes.
Is it paramount to the safety of the officer to make sure that they are clearly identifiable to a person that they're conducting a traffic stop on?
Yes.
This was not an undercover operation, was it?
It was not.
It was not the purpose of the defendant to act as if he was undercover, was it?
Sustained. Rephrase.
Was it the purpose of this defendant to act as if he was undercover?
No.
Was the purpose to be clearly identifiable as a law enforcement officer if necessary?
Yes.
And the instructions, were they to put his vest on when he was exiting the vehicle to make contact? Is that the instruction?
To be readily identifiable.
And if he exited his vehicle to make contact with anybody, was he supposed to be readily identifiable?
Yes.
And is that not only for the safety of him,
Sustained.
is that for the safety of him, sir?
Yes.
Is it also for the safety of anybody that he would come into contact with?
Yes.
And you said that obviously no one would know that that white unmarked van.
I was letting you finish asking him to wait a sec. I haven't heard the whole question yet. Go ahead.
You previously testified that there is no way that somebody would be able to tell if that unmarked white van was a law enforcement vehicle. Correct?
Yes.
Defense attorney asked you if there are times where something may suddenly change that will cause a law enforcement officer to act. Do you remember him asking you that?
I do.
And what was your response?
Yes.
And are those sudden changes at times because a citizen or a suspect might do something to an officer?
Yes.
Are there also times where things will suddenly change because of what the officer specifically does?
At times, yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor. Witness to be excused.
You may step down. Watch your step. Thank you very much. State, call your next witness.
State calls Special Agent Solis.
Special Agent Solis, please. Good morning, sir. Come on up. Thank you for your patience. Follow Deputy Dunkley right there. And once you get to the designated spot, if you'd raise your right hand, face Mr. Clerk for me.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
All right, you're going to come around this way. You're going to have a seat. Chair swivels and rolls. Make yourself comfortable. Thank you. And then the microphone moves wherever you'd like it, but I'd like it pretty close to your mouth if you, perfect. Maybe pull the base a little, the base will come towards you. Perfect. And then tell us your full name and slowly spell it for the jurors.
My full name is David Solis, S-O-L-I-S.
State, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you employed?
I'm currently a supervisory special agent for the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
And if you would, please explain your duties as a supervisory special agent, sir.
Well, currently, my duties are to oversee the investigations for South Miami-Dade down through the Florida Keys, currently. And I'm also a member of the evidence response team.
Very good. And so part of your job is to conduct criminal investigations, and part of your job is evidence recovery team, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
If you would, just please explain your education and also your employment background.
I have a master's in business administration. I have been with the Federal Bureau of Investigation for 15 years, since 2003.
And have you always been assigned to the Miami regional area, or have you been assigned to other places within the United States, sir?
I initially was assigned to the Washington field office from 2003 to 2009. I investigated drugs, gangs, and crimes against children while at that field office. And then I was transferred in 2009 to the Miami Field Division, where I also investigated drugs, gangs, and then became a supervisory special agent.
And back on October 24th of 2015, were you on duty with the FBI, sir?
Yes, sir.
And did you participate in the investigation into the death of Corey Jones, case number 282-MM674-0884?
I did as a member of the evidence response team.
And part of that was to go and conduct a research of the crime scene for additional evidence that may have existed, is that correct?
Correct.
Why was that done?
I believe they felt that they just wanted to take a look for if any evidence was missed, so they sent us out to survey the scene.
And the folks who ended up searching, was it people from the FBI?
Yes, sir.
People from Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else, or that pretty much covered it?
I believe that is all to my recollection.
Any potential evidence that was located at that scene, sir?
Yes, sir.
And was that evidence seized and secured and taken from that scene?
Yes.
And what was your role during this search, sir?
My role during that search was as a photographer.
And did you take photographs of the scene and of the search being conducted,
Yes, sir.
and also of the evidence that was obtained?
Yes.
If I may approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Showing the witness what's been marked for identification as states 63 composite A through Z. You will please take a look at those, sir.
Yes, sir.
You recognize those, sir?
Yes.
Have you looked at them previously before today?
Yes, sir.
Do they fairly and accurately represent what you photographed back on October 24th of 2015?
Yes, sir.
And are these pictures of that scene and also the search of the area by the evidence recovery team of the FBI?
Yes, sir.
Asked to introduce as 63 composite A through Z, Your Honor.
Any objection? No, Your Honor. Admitted.
Asked to publish, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and go through these photographs, sir, one by one, and just discuss what is seen here and described to the jury, please.
Okay.
Starting off with A. And what is this, sir?
It's a cover sheet so that everything is organized. The first photo that we take of the scene is this cover sheet, which shows the date, the case number, who took the photos, and the location.
And so you have two case IDs. You have one, which is the 282-MM674-0884. Is that your FBI number, sir?
Yes, sir.
And then the 15133-920, is that the local agency number?
I believe so, sir.
Obviously, your name, and then the location there is at PGA Boulevard and 95 southbound ramp. Is that correct?
Yes.
B. And is this the general area that you searched here, sir?
Yes, the initial photographs that we take are overviews of the scene, and this would be the first photo that we took.
And so when we're looking up this direction here, what direction will we be looking, sir?
I believe that would be north?
This is the southbound ramp, so then that would be looking upwards.
Yes, sir.
moving north.
Yes, sir.
And obviously, this is taken during the day, is that correct?
Yes?
Did you begin your search and coming onto this scene during the daylight hours?
Yes?
Obviously, the purpose of that is make it easier to search.
Yes, sir.
C. And here, are we looking down that guardrail heading up north, is that correct, sir?
Yes?
These vehicles here, are they placed there for your safety?
Yes, to block any oncoming traffic.
And along this guardrail, what do we see right here? If you can see, I have a laser pointer.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. A sign, a metal sign.
It has a metal pole on it.
Yes, sir.
And is this close in relation to the end of the guardrail, sir?
Yes?
And then behind it, the first thing going down that guardrail that we see way down here, what is this?
Palm tree?
Over here to the left, this white object. Do you recall what that is over there?
It was some type of utility box.
And then obviously, as further we get down, up the ramp here heading north, we start getting into more of, more trees and tree cover to the area.
Yes, sir, more dense.
Yeah, D, is this just, we're just proceeding up the ramp at this stage, is that correct?
Correct.
And when we're looking to the west, what is this over here?
That's the hotel that was adjacent.
And is this right here the same pole that we saw right close to the end of that guardrail?
Yes, sir.
E. And once again, this is just getting past the guardrail, continuing to look, and now are we looking in more of a northwesterly direction towards this big tree?
Correct.
And once again, we see that electrical box over here.
Correct.
And these are just general pictures that you take of the of the scene as a whole.
Yes, sir.
F. And then now we've moved up north on that ramp, is that correct?
Correct.
Now we're looking more closer to directly upon that big tree.
Correct.
Do you know what kind of tree that is? Is that like an oak tree or an elm tree, or do you know?
Something similar, but I'm not familiar.
And then once again, we're getting closer to this first palm tree here.
Correct.
G. And then did you take note of something potentially on this palm tree, sir?
Yes, sir.
And as we start looking, is there something that was placed on the palm tree to identify what was taken note of?
Yes, sir.
H. And is this what we're looking at?
It was, yes, sir, it was a defect in the tree.
And when you say a defect, what does a defect mean to you, sir?
Something that is not natural to the tree.
Now, does a defect necessarily mean that it was caused by a bullet strike?
It,
Overruled. Go ahead, sir.
Does a defect in a tree or anywhere, does it necessarily mean that it was caused by a bullet strike?
no, not necessarily.
Is it something that you take note of and photograph for further evaluation?
Yes, sir.
And that's what you did in this case, sir?
Yes, sir.
Looking at I. And what did you do here? Yeah, something's changed here, so what did you all do here?
Well, here we take various photos of it. The initial photo is one untouched. Then we'll place a measurement tape on it to show the dimensions of the defect of the strike, and we also put in this situation some nails so that it's further noted the location of it, and when we do take photography or x-rays and so on, they'll come out in the film.
And so, specifically when you talk about x-rays. If you have a x-ray and 2 nails, the x-ray should pick up those 2 nails, correct?
Exactly, and then you're looking for what was in between the 2 nails as marked.
So they're used as markers as to what to look in between to see if anything would exist that would come up on an x-ray.
Correct.
And then J. Now, have we turned around and started looking down the ramp at this stage, sir?
Correct.
And so this direction that we're heading here, what direction would that be?
That'll be south.
And this sign right here, way off in the distance, is that sign that we saw that's close to the end of the guardrail?
Yes, sir.
And that's just the front side of it that has some green and white writing on it?
Correct.
And now that we're standing way back here, is this where that tree, not sure if it's an elm or oak, but this tree over here, that's where we're pretty much standing?
Yes, sir.
And then I believe you had a picture of this big old light pole way down here. You also had a picture of that in one of your first pictures, is that right?
Correct.
And some of these folks that are down here are these people that were associated with the evidence response team?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we're back looking north, is that right?
Correct.
And what do we see all along the gully and also up here close to these pine trees?
Those are all yellow evidence flags.
Okay, and if you would explain why those yellow evidence flags are sticking in the ground.
Well, after we did the photography, the first thing we do is the photography, so the scene is untouched. Then after we're done with that, we'll survey the area. In this case, we surveyed the area visually, and we used metal detectors. At every location that we find evidence, whether it was from a visual or from a metal detector, we place a yellow evidence flag so that we can go back to it later and view it more closely.
And so each one of these little flags represented some area that you went back and actually searched further?
Yes, sir.
L. And so now it looks like there's a lot fewer flags, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And now are we back here once again under those big trees that we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
And as we close up here, just to be sure, M, this is a closer look at what we were just looking at, the fewer flags, is that right?
Yes.
And is there now a yellow stanchion that is seen placed here?
Yes.
And what's the number on that, sir?
It looks like a number 1.
You know, we'll get a little closer up in. Same thing, sir?
Yes, sir.
So now we're getting right up on it, located right close to those big bushy trees.
Yes.
O. Once again, now we're really close. And was something dug up here, or was it laid on top, or do you know?
I believe in this situation, it was a bit of metal was detected and then marked.
P. And so was this what was actually located at that place, sir?
Yes, sir.
And is this one of the items that was then collected from the scene?
Yes.
Do you know what this is, or do you not make any type of assumption?
We wouldn't make assumptions. It would be sent to the laboratory, but it appears to be a fragment of a bullet.
Q. And so now what are we looking at?
We're looking at an overview photograph of another defect or suspicious item that was found, and there's a member of the evidence response team marking it for me from far away.
And is he pointing to a pine tree now?
Yes, sir.
And just so, we're clear on the location, he's standing next to that white electrical box that we had seen before?
Yes, sir.
What direction does he look like he's standing from that electrical box?
East of it?
And then the tree that he's pointing to, is that to the north of him?
Yes, sir.
And is this pine tree close over here next to, once again, this big bushy trees?
Yes,
And then also, straight to the east, we're looking, once again, to this palm tree that we saw some pictures of earlier.
correct.
Is this just getting a little bit closer up, sir?
Correct.
And is he once again holding a yellow stanchion in his hand to mark that potential evidence?
Yes, sir.
And what's the number that he's holding?
It looks like a number 2.
S, and so this would, once again, and is this what your normal protocol is, to actually get closer and closer as you take pictures up to get a better and closer view as you walk up to it?
Yes, sir. The initial photograph will be an overview, and then we get closer and closer. The overview is so you have an idea of where the tree is in the scene, because when you just take the close-up photo, you don't really understand its proximity in the scene.
And as we get even closer up into T, this is what we're talking about. Is that correct?
Correct?
So what do we see here in this picture with stanchion 2 next to this pine tree, sir?
We noticed a hole with sap dripping from it.
Now, did that sap, obviously, it looks like it's dripping from the hole. You have any way to know whether that was created the day before, or a week before, or 2 weeks before?
No, sir. In this instance, the sap looked liquidy, so it looked like it was recent. But aside from that's why it was suspicious.
You, and when we're looking at you, is this now the scene with simply the 2 stanchion yellow markers? Is that correct?
Yes?
And is this, why take this shot right here?
To show the proximity of the 2 items of evidence that were located?
To one another and then also within the scene.
Yes, sir.
V. Now, is this the same day, sir?
Yes, sir.
And is this now at night?
Yes.
Were you all out there the entire day searching the scene that rolled into night?
Yes, sir.
And so now, is this the same pine tree that has the defect in it, sir?
Yes.
And what did you do to that pine tree?
It's my recollection.
Personally, but what did somebody on scene?
Yeah, it's my recollection that we marked the hole, but instead of processing or exploring the hole at the scene, we cut out that section of tree to send to the laboratory.
And so this is W, and is this cutting off part of that tree to get to that section?
Yes, sir.
X. And so now, is this the section that we're looking at that contained that defect of the sap rolling down from it?
Yes, sir.
And then was that taken into evidence, that section of the tree?
Yes.
Why? What are we looking at here and why?
In this photo,
Yes, sir.
we were asked to take photos from the vantage point of the hotel in the evening.
So this is the Doubletree Hotel that was just west of the off-ramp, sir?
Yes, sir.
And now, the direction that we're looking from the Doubletree Hotel, we're looking back at the interstate, is that correct?
Eastbound, yes, sir.
And so this lit area here that we're looking at beyond the tree line, is that now going to be the off-ramp, sir?
Yes, sir.
And is this area dark or is it lit that's over here by the off-ramp?
It appears lit by a light post.
Now, did you take this picture with a camera trying to create more light through the picture, or did you just take what you saw?
Well, it was my intention to take an accurate representation of the lighting that occurred at that particular time.
So you didn't do anything special with the camera to make it seem lighter or darker?
No, I was deliberately trying to make it look accurate to the time of day or evening.
Now, this is going to be at night, but it's not necessarily at 3 o'clock in the morning or the specific time that the incident actually occurred.
I don't recall the exact time, but it was in the evening.
Sun had completely gone down,
Yes, sir.
dark as it gets being dark with no sun.
Yes, sir.
And Z, is this just a little closer up of the edge of the DoubleTree parking lot looking east on that off-ramp there and the lighting associated with that gully area?
Yes, sir.
And I believe you arrived in the morning time around 9 o'clock, is that what you recall?
I believe so.
Left around 10?
I believe so.
And did this conclude your work in the investigation into the death of Corey Jones?
Yes, sir.
I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Good morning.
Just a couple of questions. When you photographed the tree, at night, the pine tree at night.
The pine tree,
there was, you had a flash?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that was artificial lighting.
Yes, sir.
And you took other photographs at night as well, from the DoubleTree.
Yes, sir.
More photographs than have been shown by the state, correct? That we have seen here today.
I believe so.
Okay, and in those other photographs, the scene is actually much darker, isn't it?
I do not recall.
Okay,
I'd have to view them.
okay. How many other photographs did you take from the DoubleTree Hotel?
There was a series of photographs. I don't recall the number of them.
You took more than two,
Yes, sir.
okay? And did you do anything to change the lighting when you took those other photographs?
Well, what happens is, as you know from taking pictures with your iPhone or your camera, sometimes at nighttime, your eyes see a certain clarity, but your phone or your camera, it comes out much darker. So I would have to compensate a little bit to make it look how your eyes are viewing the scene.
But then there are also photographs that you would take that you would not do, account for that compensation, right?
Or maybe it was trial and error to try to get it to that,
Okay.
that desired,
All right.
sir.
One moment, Your Honor.
Okay? Any redirect?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Showing the witness what's been marked for identification. This is 64 composite A through I. Sir, would you mind taking a look at these, please?
Yes, sir?
Do you recognize those, sir?
Yes, sir.
And do you recognize them based on the date and also your FBI case number that's imprinted on the bottom of them, sir?
Yes, sir?
Did they also fairly and accurately depict some of the pictures, in addition to the ones we've already introduced, that you took that night in October 24th out at the crime scene at PGA Boulevard and 995?
Yes, sir.
Asked to introduce as states 64 composite A through I, Your Honor?
Any objection?
Ask the public.
Admitted. Yes, sir?
Defense counsel asked you if you took other photographs of the scene at night, didn't he, sir?
Yes, sir.
And are these some of the other photographs that you took, sir?
Yes.
All right, let's look at A. And looking at A, does this show the same lighting next to the off-ramp and the gully area right next to the off-ramp, sir, that we saw in the previous pictures?
It appears, yes.
How about B? Is this the same type of lighting that we saw earlier, sir?
Appears to be very similar, maybe,
Is it just as bright as the other pictures that were shown earlier, sir?
Might be a little different.
How would it be different?
Might be a little brighter.
A little brighter?
Yes, sir.
And that was I and then H, actually. Then G. Once again, relatively the same lightness off of that off-ramp, sir, from the pictures that were previously shown to the jury?
Yes, sir.
F? Still no drastic change, right, sir?
Very similar. Yes, sir.
E? This is another picture depicting that lighting, correct?
Yes, sir.
Still the same?
Yes, sir.
D? Still the same brightness over there in the gully and next to the off-ramp, sir?
Yes, sir.
C?
Yes, sir. It's very similar.
B?
Well, that one is a little brighter.
A little bit brighter over there?
Yes, sir.
No drastic difference, though?
No.
Sustained. Disregard that last comment.
A?
A little brighter as well.
So all of these photos that are in addition to the photos that you saw earlier, are they all relatively the same brightness off of the off-ramp and the gully next to it?
Yes, sir.
I believe I did introduce 64 composite A through I, Your Honor. Is that
Any
correct?
objection?
Yeah, thank you. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
They're admitted. If they've already did, let's do it twice. Can he step,
Maybe excuse, Your
can he step down? Okay. You may step down. Watch your step. Thank you very much. State, call your next witness.
State calls Detective Kowalski.
Detective, please. Detective, come on up. And I would call you by the full name, but it sounded like a mouthful. So I'm going to wait till you get up here. Detective, raise your right hand. Face this gentleman right here.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
All right, you're going to have a seat up there. Watch your step. It can be tricky. The chair swivels. It rolls. Get it where you're comfortable. Most importantly to me, though, is you get the microphone close to your mouth. The whole base moves. That looks perfect. If you would tell us your, that's great. If you would tell us your full name and then definitely spell your last name slowly for us.
Hi, my name is Luciano Kovalski. That's Kovalski.
State, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, how are you employed?
I'm employed with Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office,
And how long have you been employed by the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office?
approximately 11 years.
Is that your entire law enforcement career, sir?
No, I was in the Lake Worth Police Department for approximately six months before they merged with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office.
Any other law enforcement or military experience, sir?
No, sir.
And what is your assignment at this time with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office?
I'm a detective in the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office bomb unit, bomb squad.
And as being a member of the bomb squad, what do you do, sir?
We respond to calls for service, suspicious packages or incendiary devices, explosive devices, weapons of mass destruction, any chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear devices. We'll do post-blast investigation. We are a highly trained unit. We have high-tech equipment that we can assist other units within the Sheriff's Office and other agencies also.
So it sounds like you cover a large array of different types of activity. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned chemicals, bombs, post-blast investigation?
Yes, sir.
And you also assist other investigators with investigating potential objects to X-ray?
We use our X-ray capabilities to assist other units. Yes, sir.
And did you become involved in the investigation into the death of Corey Jones at some point?
Yes, I did.
And were you on duty October 24th of 2015?
I was not on duty. I was called out that day.
And what were you called out to do, and where were you called to?
I was asked to X-ray a tree in question on the ramp of PGA Boulevard.
And that's the ramp of PGA Boulevard and I-95, sir?
Yes, sir, the off-ramp.
And who did you meet there?
With Special Agent Alejandro Galliano from the FBI.
And once you met with Special Agent Galliano, what did you do, sir?
He showed me the tree in question that he wanted to x-ray. I asked him to place 2 nails. He said it was a unnatural mark in the palm tree. So I asked him to put 2 nails, one above, one below the unnatural mark, to use as a reference for my x-ray. And then I took an x-ray of the palm tree.
And you just said the palm tree, is that correct, sir?
Yeah, the palm tree, yes. Not the entire palm tree, just that section in question.
So we're looking at States 63 composite. I. And so, I have a date on there, obviously. Is this, you recall having 2 nails and a defect in a palm tree that you would have x-rayed, sir?
Yes, sir.
And the purpose of those 2 nails?
Just uses a guideline to where I'm looking for an object.
And so, what type of x-ray device are you talking about? Like, what does it look like? How big is it?
So the manufacturer is called Logos Imaging System, a crystal view system. It's like a medical grade X-ray film. So we have a radiation source. It has a film in the back. So I'll place a film behind the palm tree. The X-ray source will be on the front of the palm tree. And then they will send radiation through it, and I'll have the image on the film. Then I'll have to develop that film in the computer to actually get the image.
Do you wear any type of special protective gear when you do this, sir?
You just walk away from it.
Do you have everybody walk away from it?
Yes, you do, sir. Everybody's in line aside of the X-ray beam.
And when you x-rayed this palm tree outside of the nails, did you see anything else?
No, sir.
And did you actually provide a copy of that x-ray to the FBI on scene?
I did, one for the FBI, one for our PBSO evidence.
And so you're actually able to give them a copy right there and then?
Yes, I can burn a copy right there from the computer.
And did you leave to go about your business at that time?
I did.
Did you get called back once again?
I did.
And do you recall around what time that was?
I got the phone call around 1700 that day,
And so we're talking about 5 p.m.?
5 p.m. Yes, sir.
And did you go back to the crime scene?
I did.
Did you x-ray a different tree?
I did.
And what kind of tree was it this time?
I believe it was a pine tree this time, was a smaller tree.
So 63 S. Is that looking like a pine tree out there at the scene, sir?
Yes, that is the tree that I say.
And the pine tree itself, how did you x-ray it?
Same process, same with same device. At this time, I didn't have any extra nails, so I used a paper clip, and I put a paper clip on the side of the film, not on the actual tree, but on the side because the tree was small, as a guideline for where the unnatural mark on the palm tree was, pine tree, I'm sorry, was. So when I look through the X-ray, I can see where the paper clip is and fall to the side of that to where this time was a foreign object in the pine tree.
And so that foreign object, obviously it showed up on an x-ray.
Yes, it did, sir.
What does that indicate to you, if anything?
That it doesn't belong to the pine tree. So,
And then, once again, did you provide a copy to the FBI on scene?
yes, it did, sir.
And did you also take copies of each of the x-ray of the palm tree and the x-rays, plural, of the pine tree, and then enter them into evidence?
I did, sir.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Showing the witness what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 65. You would please take a look at that, sir? And do you recognize that?
Yes, it is my evidence bag. It's my handwriting, my name, my initials on the tape.
And are those the x-rays that you took, that you just testified about, sir?
Yes, sir.
Appear to be in substantially the same condition or same condition as when you entered them into evidence, sir?
Yes, sir.
And I'd ask to introduce as states 65, Your Honor.
And admitted. Thank you.
And sir, did you document your findings?
I did.
And did this conclude your involvement in this investigation?
Yes, you did, sir.
Thank you. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Any cross? Yes, sir. You may step down, sir. Watch your step. Thank you very much. State, call your next witness.
Yes, sir, the state would call Special Agent Marco Rodriguez.
Jurors okay? Keep moving. All right. Sergeant Rodriguez, good morning. Thank you for your patience. You're going to follow the deputies, and then Deputy Dunkley's going to escort you out here to the middle. And once you get there, if you raise your right hand and face Mr. Clerk for me.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, sir.
And now you're going to have a seat right up here. Watch your step. The chair swivels and rolls. So get it where you're very comfortable, and then that microphone moves completely as well, and get it, you can pull the base a little closer to you, and then once that's all done, if you would tell us your full name and slowly spell your last name for us.
Yes, Judge. My name is Marco Rodriguez, last name spelled Rodriguez.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
If you would, please explain to the jury how you're employed and what you do.
Yes, I'm employed with the FBI in the Miami Division. I'm a special agent. I've been an agent for almost 13 years.
And what do you do as an agent with the FBI, sir?
I investigate federal crimes. I've worked public corruption for 9 years, violent crime, white-collar crime, also a collateral duty. I'm on the evidence response team, which we call ERT, which is basically CSI, and we process crime scenes.
And prior to being a special agent with the FBI, did you have any other additional education or law enforcement training, sir?
Yes, I was in the Coast Guard for 29 years, did law enforcement with them, and also have a criminology degree,
A bachelor's degree, sir?
bachelor's degree,
And where is that from?
USF, University of South Florida.
And back on October 24th of 2015, were you on duty, sir?
Yes, I was.
And did you participate in the investigation of the death of Corey Jones, FBI case number 282MM6740884?
I did.
And did you participate as the team leader of a search of the crime scene for additional evidence?
Yes, I did.
And what is your role as a team leader, sir?
Okay, so the ERT team in Miami, we have a 40-person team that does the crime scene. Each team is split up in approximately 10 members. So each team has a team leader. So I'm the team leader of approximately 10 crime scene team. So basically, anytime we are called to go to a crime scene, there's many types of crime scenes. Some are violent crime, some are just white-collar crime cases, mass shootings. So basically, I'm basically briefed what the crime is and what we're going to process. Sometimes it involves a search warrant. We have to read the search warrant and figure out what we are authorized to search for. Then we put a team together. We make sure we have a photographer. We have someone that can draw a sketch. We have searchers, individuals that will actually perform the search. We also have more advanced positions like fingerprints, and there's another part to it. It's called total station, which is basically those people conduct surveying equipment to measure distances and things like that. So I had to put the team together, make sure we have all the positions covered, and then we arrive on scene.
Gotcha. And so, do you know why this secondary search was conducted, sir?
I'm not exactly sure. I was just told that we were coming up there to do a secondary search of the location on the side of the off-ramp.
And where was the location, sir?
That was the southbound ramp from I-95 and PGA Boulevard.
And did you use metal detectors to survey the area, sir?
We did.
And how did you do that?
So on the side of the off-ramp, there was grass, a very grassy area. So that whole area was where the shooting occurred. So we did a line search up the ramp, first of all, and we didn't need metal detectors because it was on the asphalt. So we did a line search going up the ramp, up to the very top of the ramp from PGA Boulevard. And then from there, we shifted over to the grass area. Because the grass was maybe less than ankle high, I determined to go ahead and use metal detectors. And in doing that, I knew there would be a lot of metal objects that we would probably get hits off because, you know, people throw bottle caps and whatnot. So,
And when you say a line search, just explain what you mean when you say a line search, please.
okay, so a line search is basically our CSI team, our ERT team gets basically shoulder to shoulder or hand to hand, side by side in a uniform line, and we walk very slowly. Everybody's looking down at the ground, looking for any kind of objects that could be construed as evidence. Sometimes we actually get on our hands and knees if we see something. So basically, it's just a line of approximately like 12 or 15 members that were doing the line search.
And how would you mark any type of positive hit that you would receive, sir?
So we have these flags in our crime scene truck. So basically, as we started the line search from PGA Boulevard and worked north on the grass, going towards the top of the hill, everybody had flags in their hand. So we would walk very slowly with the metal detector, people in front of us, and anytime there was a positive beep with the metal detector, we would zone in on that location and put a flag down. And I believe it was approximately 180 items of interest that were positive on the metal detector that we flagged.
And so by the time you got done with your line search, you had a large number of little yellow flags poking everywhere?
Correct.
And did each one of these flags, these areas that were flagged, did they get searched?
Yes, they did.
And were there trees also that were detected using metal detectors?
There was.
And did you also X-ray any suspected metal evidence that may exist in some of these trees?
We did.
And did you search the adjacent DoubleTree parking lot for evidence too?
We did.
And what were you looking for when you looked at the DoubleTree parking lot, sir?
When we were looking to see if there was any strikes from any ammunition that may have hit the side of the building. Sometimes when people fire a weapon, they don't always hit the intended target. So sometimes the bullet will just fly until it hits something to stop. So we wanted to make sure that after searching the grass area with the metal detectors flagging items, we also had agents walk the parking lot, check all the vehicles in the parking lot, make sure none of the vehicles were struck, and also the buildings. And we did not see any objects that would have hit the building.
So no evidence of strike marks over in the DoubleTree parking lot or on the DoubleTree building itself?
No, there wasn't.
Did you actually recover evidence from the scene, though?
We did.
And was this evidence seized, secure, and taken from the scene?
Yes, it was.
And each piece, was it bagged or boxed and appropriately tagged so that you could tell what was inside and who recovered it, sir?
Correct. We followed our standard procedures of collecting evidence.
And did you take that evidence into FBI custody at that time?
We did.
And-
Well, actually, we bagged the evidence up, and our standard procedure is not for the crime scene team to take the evidence. So upon conclusion of the search, we do a property receipt, and we hand it over to the case agent, whoever's in charge of on scene, and we sign a receipt, and we actually physically hand them the evidence bags, and they sign a receipt that they received it, and then we depart.
And so that would be also an agent with the FBI, sir?
Correct.
And in this case, that is what you did?
Yes, I did.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Approaching the witness who has been marked for identification purposes as states 66. Sir, can you please take a look at that? And do you recognize that, sir?
Yes.
And does this represent one of the items that you took on October 24th of 2015 from the scene, sir?
Yes, it does.
And is that the copper-colored bullet fragment?
Yes, that was the fragment that we found on the ground, on the grass.
And is that in the same box as you had placed it in, sir?
Yes, and my initials are on this box and my name.
And asked to introduce as 66, Your Honor?
Any objection? Admitted. 66.
First clerk, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
And showing 63 composite P. Is that what is located in that box, sir?
Yes, it is.
So without opening it up and taking out all the packing and everything, this fragment that was located on the scene under stanchion 1 is what you have in that box?
That is correct. Whenever our team members would flag something or find something, they would call me over. So I remember walking over and inspecting it.
And do you know whether or not, looking at this fragment under stanchion 1 of P of state 63, is that the way that it sat just on top of the ground like that?
Correct.
Or was it dug up, or do you?
No, it was sitting just like that. We never touch evidence until we take a photo of it. This is standard procedure. We mark it with the number first and take a photo of it with the number. So we never touch it until it's photographed.
Approaching with 66 and 67.
Okay.
You could take a look at these, sir.
Which one is the box? The
I'm
big,
sorry, 67 and 68. 67 is the box,
big box is 67 jurors, and on top of it, there's an envelope, and that's 68.
Once again, sir, you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize it?
Well, it was boxed up by the FBI. It has my name on it and my initials.
And then, did this box contain the tree that potentially contained some type of metal evidence?
Yes, it does.
And is this the piece of tree that was cut down on the scene that night of October 24th, sir?
Yes, I'm the one that cut the tree.
So looking at X, that's you actually handling the chainsaw right there, sir?
Yes.
Asked to introduce as 67, Your Honor.
Any objection? Admitted.
And then, as stipulation, asked to introduce 68 also.
Any objection? Admitted. Thank you.
And go ahead and let's open up that box and see the tree that's inside, please.
Do we need scissors?
Yes, sir, please.
Can we have some scissors, please? We don't need gloves for this, correct?
I would suggest it, Your Honor.
Would you like gloves, sir?
I don't think at this point in time it matters.
Okay, you let me know when you need them. We got the box ready, Dunk? Let's just put it up on there. I got a feeling we're gonna need them soon. Perfect. You know what, Don, hand them to me. I'll keep them over here until they're absolutely necessary. You might need them again. Oh, he's got two.
Now, obviously, this tree has been pulled apart, is that correct?
Yes, that was pulled apart by the lab.
Okay, so we can see, if we can just pick it up a little bit so the jurors can see, but without letting anything fall out. And so we still see the nail, a nail that's located in it, two nails, is that correct? And you see a hole right there in the middle? And then, obviously, it's been pulled apart, and what was inside has now been taken out?
Correct. I was going to say, if you could make that stand up on the side, you were going to impress me. You're still impressing me. Good job. Thank you. They're going to get that back in the room, too, so.
Very good, sir. And so, now, is it common for FBI ERT to come and conduct a search of a scene after local authorities had already done so?
Yes, we've done that many times.
And what's the purpose of that?
Sometimes the local police departments don't have the manpower, they're too busy, or they don't have the certain techniques that we use or equipment. Sometimes they help us, and other times we help them. It just matters what the situation is.
You're all partners in law enforcement?
We are. Common goal.
Help each other out whenever
Yes.
you're asked?
Yes.
All right, if we can go ahead and box that back up.
Can I just explain one thing? The two metal items that were on there were put on there from us to mark the location of the tree when we did the surveying it. These two.
Okay, so, but that's by you to indicate in between those two metal objects is where the item was located?
Yes, anytime they use the surveying equipment, they have to have a point to aim the equipment to take measurements. So they can hammer those into the ground, or they can hammer into a tree or a wall, whatever it is. And there's one below and above the strike mark of the branch. So that's where they took the two measurements from.
Very good, sir. Unless defense counsel needs the tree
You need
out?
to remain out? No, sir. Then let's put it in the bag, and we'll get it over to Damien, and he'll take care of the rest, right?
Do you want me to go ahead and put it back in the bag in the box?
Yes, please, if you would, I appreciate it. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
And we took care of the envelope already, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Clerks, you're happy?
Yes, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
No problem, Judge.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Go wash your hands. See you later. Appreciate it. All right, State, call everybody. Can we keep working? Do they need coffee break? No? Let's do it. State, call your next witness.
Detective Barborini.
Detective Barberini? Did I say it correctly? Or Barberini? Ini. So jurors, you're probably so tired of me saying, watch your step, and the chair swivels and rolls. So it's a true story, I promise you. So I had a very, very long civil trial a long time ago. And it was very long, and you got to bond with the jurors. You really start to know each other, and so they laughed at me, made fun of me. God, that guy can repeat himself. So we made a deal that the next witness, I wasn't going to say a word. As the witness left, they tripped and fell out of the jury box. They did not get hurt. The jury went crazy. I swear it's a true story. So I promised from that day on, I was always going to say, watch your step, because I promise you it happened. And we just don't want anybody to get hurt. And it'll lead me to a second story later on for you about watch your step and the jurors. So, Detective Barberini, I believe. Good morning, sir, and thank you for your patience. If you do me a favor, follow Deputy Dunkley, raise your right hand. Once you've done that, you'll be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. All right, you're going to have a seat right over here. Watch your step. The chair swivels and rolls. It's pretty close to the edge right there, so be careful. And once you get yourself situated, you're pretty tall. So make sure you get that microphone propped up and pulled close to you, and then tell us your full name and definitely slowly spell your last name for us.
My name is Stephen, S-T-E-P-H-E-N. Last name is Barborini, B-A-R-B-O-R-I-N-I.
Terrific. State, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
If you would please explain to the jury how you are employed and what are your duties at this time?
I'm currently a detective in the Violent Crime Unit in a smaller division of the Violent Crime, VCD, Violent Crime Division, called the Firearms Investigative Unit, where basically we look at the firearms that come in, we trace them through ATF, we look at the firearms cases and see if they're stolen. Based on an investigation by either road or detectives, we also look at the investigations and see what else we can provide as far as extra investigations that we can do as far as interviews or maybe possible fingerprints or DNA. I also provide training to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office and other Sheriff's Office in firearms identifications, investigations, and protocols.
And sir, what is your experience as a law enforcement officer through the years?
I was a police officer in Delray Beach for about just over 7 years. I was a patrolman. I was a detective and then a sergeant, also crime scene for a little bit. Was with the U.S. Marshals for about 1.5 years. And then for 25 years, I was a special agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. In the last 4.5 years, I was the resident agent in charge of this area for ATF. I retired in December 31st, 2011. I then was hired by the Sheriff's Office as a part-time detective in this unit, which I do in this Firearms Investigative Unit, which I am right now.
Detective, can you do me a favor? As you turn and talk to the jury, that's perfectly fine. Just move the microphone over in that direction a little bit. Terrific.
It's a directional mic, so it's right in front.
Unidirectional.
Fix it.
Unidirectional.
Unidirectional, right?
Right. I learned something during this trial. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did you become involved in the officer-involved shooting investigative death of Corey Jones, sir?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of your involvement?
I was asked by my Sergeant Karpinski about a handman his arms pistol that appeared to have a little bit of copper color to it, and he wanted to know what that meant because it was a nickel-plated firearm. And I said that based on...
And so you're asked to look at the firearm itself?
Yes, yes.
Did you also run a trace on that firearm to determine where it was purchased?
Oh, yes.
And the history of that firearm?
Yes, before that, we did a trace through the ATF's National Firearms Tracing Center. That was done on the date of the incident, which I believe is the 15th of October, 2015.
And if you wouldn't mind, just explain, how do you run a trace on a firearm, sir?
When the firearms come into evidence, we look at them. We get the make, model, serial number of the firearm. We then, any information we get right away from preliminary reports where the gun was found, what location, and who had the gun, the possessor of the gun. We then take this information, and it's called ATF E-Trace. It is a web-based web-based, law enforcement-only tracing, and we put this information to ATF, which is actually the ATF tracing is located in West Virginia. There's no firearms registration for those type of firearms, for normal firearms, federally or in the state of Florida. So what we can do through E-Trace is find out who the purchaser was. If you ever bought a firearm from a gun dealer, you fill out a form called an ATF Form 4473. That's a firearms transaction record. So what happens at E-Trace, the information goes up via the internet, and then either by phone or sometimes computer links, the people at the National Tracing Center contact Jimenez Arms in this case. Jimenez Arms will say, oh, we shipped that gun to a distributor or a dealer on such a date. And then each licensed federal firearms dealer is required to keep an acquisition and disposition book. So that dealer then looks at his book and says, oh, you shipped me the gun at a certain date. They see, okay, that Jimenez Arms was then shipped to a gun dealer. That gun dealer is then contacted and said, okay, you received this gun on this day. They look in their book. On the disposition side, it's going to say either who bought the gun, or if it's blank, it should be still in their inventory. And once they see that somebody bought the gun, they then pull the corresponding ATF Form 4473 that has all the purchaser information. That information is then sent on a tracing form back to me, and I send that form to the investigating police officer detective.
And did you run such an ATF E-Trace on a firearm, being a 380 Jimenez Arms that was found in this case, sir?
Yes, it was traced through our unit, and I have the trace form did come back, which I supplied to the investigating detectives.
Approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Showing what's been marked for identification purposes as states 69. Take a look at that, please, sir. Do you recognize that?
Yes,
And does this represent the E-Trace that you requested in the results on that Jimenez Arms 380 firearm, sir?
yes,
And through your training experience, you recognize that to be the actual E-Trace form that you get back in the results?
yes, you see my name's on it, the NIBIN coordinator's name's on it, and here's the Jimenez Arms Model J380 with the correct serial number 285420.
Asked to introduce as state 69, Your Honor.
Admitted.
Asked to publish, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
So looking at this document, sir,
Yes,
and let's just review some of the information that's located on it. So, obviously up top here, this lets us know that it is indeed from the ATF, is that correct, sir?
correct.
And I have and you can see it on your screen, but then I also have a red laser pointer that I'll point to some aspects within the document too, sir. And so what was the request date, sir?
October 18th, 2015.
And is that, as best as you're aware, that is when this incident actually occurred, sir?
Yeah, we inputted the recovery information, which is a little to the right. This is recovery date 10/18/2015.
Gotcha. And when you see the recovery information of 10/18/2015, this time to crime, 3 days, what does that mean, sir?
Time to crime is a number based on the date it was sold by the licensed federal firearms gun dealer to the time it was found, either on somebody or laying in the street, whatever. So it's called time to crime. So we have a gun that was bought on the 15th of October, and on the 18th, I'm asked to trace this firearm.
And so you can actually tell the duration from the time the firearm was actually purchased to whenever it was located and picked up by law enforcement.
That is correct.
And in this case, that was 3 days, sir?
Correct.
And looking at the firearm information itself, the information you've already stated, this provides also the serial number and also the general characteristics of that firearm, sir?
That's what we input based on information from law enforcement.
And if you would, if you can explain what a 380, because that says here, JA 380. And so JA, does that stand for Jimenez Arms?
Yes.
And then the 380, what does that mean, sir?
JA380 is the model number, so the manufacturer is Jimenez Arms. The model is JA380. It's a very common, small, sort of a cheaper concealable type pistol. It's a semi-automatic pistol. The caliber is .380, which is .380 ACP. So like if you're familiar with 9mm, it's sort of a shorter 9mm. So it's for a smaller gun. So that is the caliber of the gun, .380 ACP.
So in the realm of categories of calibers of firearms, you mentioned a 9mm caliber firearm. Do you also have a 40 caliber and a 45?
Yes.
And that 40, is that a larger caliber than the 9mm?
Yes.
Basis? Overruled.
So that 40 caliber is a larger caliber than a 9mm.
Yes.
Likewise, a 45 would be larger than a 40.
Yes.
The 380, is that smaller than a 9mm, or is it around the same size or larger?
A 9mm, a common, when we say 9mm, is usually considered 9mm Luger, 9mm Parabellum, which means it's a 9mm diameter bullet, okay, which is approximately .358 caliber. And the casing, which is you have a cartridge, the bullet, you have a casing and a primer. The casing length on a 9mm is 19 millimeters tall, where on a 380 it's 17 millimeters tall. So basically it's the same size bullet, although usually a lighter bullet, but it's a shorter case, which means it has less powder. So a 9mm Luger is 9x19, a 380 is also known as 9x17.
And so with having a smaller casing size, it has less gunpowder in it,
Yes,
and that means there's less force behind it as it would come out?
correct.
So, we know what kind of firearm it was, and then it was purchased on October 15th of 2015, is that correct?
Correct.
And who was the purchaser, sir?
According to the trace data, it was Corey Lamar Jones.
And obviously it provides his information, being his date of birth and his address and some personal information, is that correct?
Yeah, that information is provided from the form that he filled out at the gun dealer.
And getting to the gun dealer, where was the gun dealer located, sir?
A True Value Hardware, 141 South Main Street, Belglade, Florida.
And based on having this information within the dealer information, is this a known gun dealer or a lawful gun dealer?
Yes, he's a federally licensed firearms dealer.
Everything that you see here is what you would expect to see in reference to a legal sale of a firearm.
Yes.
Any indication here as to whether or not that 380 Jimenez Arms pistol was used or whether it was new?
When I look at the trace data, I see the ship to date of 12/17/2013. I don't know if it's on the lower right side, right there. And then, but the purchase date is 10/15/2015. So that strikes me, because usually that firearm is a very popular firearm because it's reasonably priced, and that dealer sells a lot of those guns. So it means the dealer got the gun. The ship to date's 12/17/2013. Doesn't make any sense that why was it in a shop for 2 years, and the reason, there is a reason for that, which I checked out.
Could you pause there for a second? Can I see the lawyers at the bench?
Did you, and you mentioned before, did you actually personally look at the firearm?
Yes, November 4th, 2015.
And the purpose of looking at the firearm was what, sir?
It's because Sergeant Karpinski advised that there was some copper coloring on this nickel-plated firearm.
And where was this discoloration, sir?
Basically where you hold the firearm, some of the sharper edges.
And what was the color of this discoloration?
Sort of a copper color that's sort of bleeding through the nickel.
And so when we talk about a copper color, we're talking more of like kind of a darker red, or, you know, of the red nature?
Yes. So a
Oh, I'll
copper
give you a little leeway on this, and the gun's going to be in there.
It's already in evidence.
Yeah, correct. So does it look like a penny?
Yes.
can it sometimes take on the characteristic of potential blood-like substance?
Not the one I saw, no.
And so when you looked at it, tell us what you attributed it to.
I attribute it to a used gun. I'm not a metallurgy expert, but I know from being around firearms all these years that nickel guns sometimes have a layering process where they use a copper to start the layering process, which means if you have a pristine nickel gun, you shouldn't see any copper color bleeding through. So that's typical of what I've seen before in nickel-plated firearms that have some wear to them.
And so as this, and nickel-plated, would that be a shinier plated gun, sir?
A very shiny, bright, like a chrome bumper on your car.
And so as that shiny nickel ages, can you take care of it so it doesn't get that copper color?
Yes, if it's kept in a cool, dry place and not handled a lot, you should maintain the nickel.
And as it ages, if you don't do that, then you get this copper coloration coming through?
It could, yes.
And did you document your findings and then pass those along to the lead detective and Sergeant Karpinski, sir?
Yes, I did.
I have no further questions at this time, Your
All
Honor.
right, cross. And just before you get started, just so you clear it up for me, so without saying anything more, this was a used gun? Yeah, yes?
Sir. Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Detective Barberini.
Hello?
That .380 caliber gun can kill a man, can it?
Yes.
No further questions, thank you.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. And it
Oh.
will be one question.
We'll see.
Can any fully functional gun kill somebody?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Now you can step down. Watch your step. Thank you very much, sir. And now I think we should take a little short break. Get you some coffee, snack, whatever in there. Your snacks holding up? Because I got a whole box of them. Everybody's okay? Okay, so remember, you're here at every time. Watch your step, but more importantly, from my perspective, is don't talk about the case. Don't Google, Facebook, Twitter, any research on your phones in there, nothing at all. And I'll let you work it out with the deputies what you want, and we'll take about between 10 and 15 minutes. When you're ready, we'll be ready. Or just take an opportunity to use the facilities, and we'll gather up in about 10.